Firstly, thank you all for taking time out to listen to myself and Steve today. Let's do the introduction. So we're going to introduce Formus Pro, a Microsoft partner in the UK. I've been working in the NFP space for a long time. About half of our customer base is not-for-profit. We've been doing a few of these webinars, and this is a topic which came up that I think would be a good one to talk about. I'm not taking credit for that. James is, who is our marketing manager, head of marketing now. He comes up with these great ideas, and then me and Steve talk to you about them. So introductions from our side. I'm Andy Martin, part-time DJ, some would say failed, full-time CCO, feels like more than full-time, and yeah, Formus Pro. So I've been here since 2016. So yeah, 9 years now, pushing Microsoft to not-for-profits and the corporate world. I'll just introduce you to Steve. Steve, you just want to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Thanks, Andy. Hi, everyone. Yeah, I'm Steve. So I'm our business development manager for the not-for-profit sector. So I basically just spend a lot of time talking to not-for-profits and charity leaders and professionals about all the options that are out there from a technology standpoint and try and connect people with each other to share success stories and get everyone moving in the right direction.
Won't be introducing myself. I'm James, head of marketing, or I wasn't going to introduce myself. I'm normally the guy behind the scenes. However, I'm here to introduce the Microsoft Tech for Social Impact team. So you'll hear from me in a second, and then I'll pass back to Andy and Steve.
Excellent. Thanks, James. So yeah, we may as well make a quick start. I think you've got control, James. Let's talk about today's agenda.
So that's going to be me. Sorry, Andy. That's my bit, but then back to yourself.
Yeah, so James will talk about Microsoft TSI. I'm going to talk about why people matter, which sounds a bit of a silly one, but they do, and more so than ever. Engagement and buy-in, really hot topic. I think everyone on the call will see benefit in this. It's vital to get your projects over the line. And sustaining change. But firstly, I'll pass you over to James to do the intros to the Microsoft TSI team.
So just want a big thank you to the Microsoft TSI team, and it would normally be Chris Lyons, who you may or not be familiar with, that handles this a little bit, but he's on holiday this week, so that's why I've jumped in. Microsoft Tech for Social Impact is obviously Microsoft's philanthropy arm. In fact, Microsoft Philanthropy is as it sounds, the philanthropy arm of Microsoft that was set up as a non-profit, and they make no money at all. I assume give me a thumbs up if many of you are working with them. I assume you do, as you've been invited by Microsoft. But I just want to thank them. Formus Pro works quite closely with the team and has done for the last few years, ever since we founded, really. And the TSI's mission is to empower every person and every organisation on the planet to achieve more, which is quite a lofty goal. They're doing really well at it. So when it was set up, Microsoft wanted to create an entirely new business model. It's all around capacity building within the non-profit sector, and they do a lot of it through the partner ecosystem, which is where we come in. We work directly with the non-profits with the aid of the TSI team, and as it puts there, it's a social investment model. So they want to offer affordable technology solutions, and they offer discounts of up to 60 to 85% off their commercial pricing for non-profits. They also provide free licensing to charities below 10 seats, which make up 80% of the world's 4 million non-profit organizations. And the organization doesn't make a penny off this. Every single cent or penny that Microsoft makes from non-profits gets plowed back into that that charitable arm, and then the Tech for Social Impact team. So as they say, just delivering technology isn't the whole answer. The TSI team, they recognize that capacity building is often the key to successful adoption, and actually that's a lot of what we're going to be talking about today. So they're committed to helping organizations get access to the training and certifications they need to actually improve those digital skills. So it's not just about software discounts, it's actually empowering the entire sector to do better. Last year alone, they provided 4.7 billion in grants or discounted software services. The Microsoft team actually between themselves raised 250 million through 2 different sort of ventures, which Microsoft obviously then company matched. And they currently are working with 377,000 non-profit organizations across the globe. Hopefully after this call, there may be 1 or 2 more, although I'll probably leave the sales to Andy and Steve. I'm not going to do a deep dive into this slide, although these slides will be sent out to you afterwards. It's basically just describing some of the discounts that you are eligible to. It is in dollars, unfortunately. I keep nagging them for a sterling version, but there isn't one. Just suffice to say, most of our commercial clients would give their right arm, or at least somebody's right arm, to get access to these discounts, and they are well worth conversations with ourselves over. And I'm just going to leave you with their sort of mission, bringing the power of AI to social impact organizations everywhere. Just a quick thank you to the TSI team for helping to organize this. And I'm just going to drop off and say thank you to Andrew and Steve.
Thanks, James. A really good impression of Chris Lyons there. So that's exactly what Chris would have talked us through. So
Chris, really hoping sure you're not watching this later in the future. If that was an impression of you, I apologise.
Chris, he's coming for your job. He's done a great job there. Why this matters now. And well-run digital transformations hold the power to revolutionise non-profits, but only if your people and volunteers are on board. So Steve, I suppose, let's discuss those current trends in AI and digital tools. The fact AI is no longer optional. Everyone knows about it now. It isn't going back. If you're not joining it now, you're behind. Your staff, your volunteers, they're all raising expectations. You need data-driven results and digital maturity. That digital divide is widening more so now than ever. Organisations that don't act now risk creating a growing gap between themselves and peers. We've seen this recently with AI as a whole. AI in the last 3 months has grown more than it did in the last 12, and in the last 12 more than in the last decade. So you can see the curve, and it's only continuing. We don't have really any idea what's happening in the next year. We can guess, but it's moving so quickly. But it's a huge opportunity to lead with purpose. You've got a mission-driven advantage as a not-for-profit, which gives you a bit of a head start against the private sector to sort of align deeply with the human values, which AI enables you to do. Anything to add to that, Steve?
I think the big points there are, like you say, we'll touch on this later, but as a charity organisation, you've got a really strong mission and set of goals that drives your employees and your volunteers. So it's good to link anything related to digital transformation, AI adoption to those really strong values, and people can kind of relate to that. And to your point, I think, Andy, about the gap widening, it's as much about perception from things like funders and people like that alongside what you're actually doing with AI. So especially for grant applications and partnerships and things like that, a lot of organizations are going to be looking at your AI adoption and readiness and incorporating that within their assessments.
Yeah, spot on. We're talking about Microsoft, we're talking about AI. It's not all about the tech. It's about how ready you and your people are for the tech. It's not having the best tools. We know the best tools, we can see them as this is it. But having the people and the culture ready to use them. And that's what today's about, empowering your teams to sort of be that foundation. It's equipping your organization to thrive in this landscape. It's moving so quickly. It's not even catching up. It's almost just getting ahead. And there is a chance to do that. Your real barriers are people, not tech, as I've just said. But the tech is just a tool. True transformation does only happen when people engage and adopt with it. It doesn't matter how good it is. If you don't bring people on for the journey, it's not going to work. We've been doing this for a long time as a company, digital transformation on CRM systems, finance systems, heavily utilizing the Power Platform. It's really easy to focus on software, the automation, the integrations, but the real success is when you involve the people. It's far too easy to leave people siloed, tick a few boxes and not bring them on for the journey. So as I said, technology is the easy part. It can be purchased, configured, deployed, but you need to get people to trust it and use it, adapt their workflows where the real challenge lies. We've seen this a lot where projects stall, and it's not because of the tools, it's because the people the right people, should I say, haven't been brought along for the journey. Your staff and volunteers probably feel threatened by AI. I was watching a webinar this morning on 80% of jobs that could be taken by AI in the coming years, and people do fear job displacement or overwhelmed by yet more change. This is human. These are very valid concerns, but ignoring them only creates resistance. So we do need to listen to the people and use that emotional intelligence. Adoption isn't all about technology. It's culture, and it's I mean, in technology, we've got a business full of technological people, and we still can't install a printer because that's not our focus. But AI is like installing a printer. It touches how people make decisions, communicate, and do their jobs. And if your culture doesn't support it, and you don't gain trust, the tools won't gain the traction you need. Anything to add to that, Steve, around sort of change fatigue, or maybe how volunteers are quite vulnerable to disengagement?
Yeah, exactly what I was thinking about with change fatigue, because
Yeah.
a lot of the messaging in the market nowadays is around just get on AI, go full AI, do as much as you can with it. But you've got to bear in mind that staff, and especially volunteers, are more susceptible to change fatigue. If they're taking time out of their jobs, everyone here will know this. You know, you only have a certain amount of time before they start feeling that fatigue, and especially coupled with the kind of natural human resistance to AI nowadays. We'll touch on this as well later, but I think that's just makes it ever more important to lead by example and bring people on the journey and make them feel heard, rather than just, this is your new tool, you've got to use it, let me know what you think of it, because there's no then emotional attachment behind it. So yeah, it's even more kind of reason that this is all people driven, and like we always say, technology is an enabler, but the people are the ones actually carrying out this stuff.
Yeah, 100%. So where it says there, the barriers are people, I suppose we don't mean they're the problem. Far from it. They are the priority. Success starts when we stop treating adoption as a rollout and treat it as a relationship. This is what people do. We have relationships. Involve your people. Involve all of them. So let's move on to the next slide. Okay, you're not the only one struggling. This is just a list of some of our clients. There's a mix of not-for-profits, which a lot of you will recognise. Anthony Nolan, our longest standing client, well, 13 years now, plus a number of others, Duke of Edinburgh, a local charity to us, Little Princess Trust, Down Syndrome Association, charity that's really close to our heart and we do free work for to help them make a change, rethink mental illness. There's all sorts here. We have got some corporate clients in there as well. And the reason is we find out there is crossover. You get the same issues in the corporate world as you do in not-for-profit. I think not-for-profits are potentially quicker to make decisions. And some of that comes down to cost, because as a company, we offer charitable discounts. Microsoft, as James alluded to, offer huge discounts. And sometimes it just enables you to move a little bit quicker. Anything to add to this, Steve? Anything about any of the clients that you see there, Duke of Edinburgh or any of the others?
Yeah, I think just a comment around struggling to deliver change, or struggling with IT, or having a kind of technology platform that maybe doesn't do everything you want it to do. That is really normal. And there's so many reasons for it. And it's partly due to the kind of ever-changing technology landscape. It's like with a CRM system, what most people see as a traditional CRM is an organization-wide system everyone uses for every department, looks the same. And actually what is kind of working better nowadays, especially in the not-for-profit sector, is treating each team as unique and giving them low-code apps and automations, which is great that Microsoft offers that, that are bespoke to their department. And as long as you're linking it up with good data in the background, everyone can have a more kind of tailored interface. It's build that emotional connection to the system they use for their role. So a lot of organizations, when we first speak to them, they tried to do it all at once, but with little training and kind of sporadic requirements gathering and playbacks throughout. And I think it all comes back to, it doesn't really matter what technology platform you're going for or what approach you use. If your people are engaged and you know their requirements and you're checking them and you're bringing them on the journey with you, chances are it's going to go well. But miss one of those things out, you can have the best technology in the world and you will fail because you've not taken the people with you.
Yeah, spot on. I mean, we talk about having individual, so it's almost, as a software industry, especially with CRM, we try and give people that single version of the truth, so that single data set. But what we can't do is give everybody the same dashboards, views to do their job, because everybody's job is different. So they are siloed, but as long as everybody's feeding their data in to the same back end and everyone's reporting off the same data, just makes it a lot easier.
I think with AI as well, we're going to see some struggling projects because people are going to try and do too much too fast. And I think a good thing to bear in mind in terms of what we're seeing with successful trial runs or rollouts of Copilot and other AI tools is just start slow, get a select kind of group involved, maybe to pilot a use case for their team, and start generating that buy-in through osmosis. So I think that's a big thing that will probably be a recurring theme today is don't try and do it all at once. Don't try and do anything too complex or fancy. Just get a nice framework that works for a team or a department and continue from there.
Yeah, agreed. And that's not just for AI, that's for software implementations as a rule, I think, especially not for profit. Chunk it, MVP, launch small, get that right, get people onto the journey early doors without too much upheaval, and then build as we go. And again, that's some of the stuff you said about AI and sort of that those early adopters to it. So we spent the majority of last week talking to local government at an event. There were people there who were very, very early adopters to AI and have struggled. They're good now, but the good news is everybody else is learning from their sort of pain points early doors. It's exactly the same into NFP. So understanding the human element, we've said earlier about people are key to this. We think about AI adoption specifically. We focus on the systems, processes, and the strategy, but there is a lot more to it than that. It's for people. You understand what the need is. You need to understand your people and what they fear, what's holding them back, and also what do they want to see from it? What's the positive? What drives them? Where do they get excited about AI? So let's look at some of these common fears. I'll be replaced by a machine. A lot of that going around. I can't keep up with new tech. I'll lose autonomy over my own job. I'll be blamed when AI goes wrong. You didn't invent it, I think you're safe, but the new tech will monitor and micromanage me. So those are the fears. And so let's look at some of the motivations to get people on board with this journey. You won't be replaced by a machine. It could actually make your job a lot easier. You up to do more things, what you're doing better. I think AI, we were talking to local government last week, and they said what AI has done is it hasn't caused any jobs to go. It's in health and social care. It's enabled social workers to do their 38.5-hour job in 38.5 hours, as opposed to having to do 6 hours over a weekend on admin and paperwork. So their job's still there. It's just they're slicker with it now. I'll have more time to focus on the mission. Again, as a not-for-profit, this is key to you. Your mission is everything. Again, free up some time, jump onto that, focusing on the mission, and expand the mission. I mean, you've got more people, more time now. What else can you be doing?
I think there's something there, Andy, with linking kind of fear of getting replaced to being able to do more in terms of engagement and mission related goals, because I think a lot of not-for-profits, if not most or all, feel that they could operate with more efficiency, with more reach when it comes to things like fundraising and engagement and volunteering. And I think the message is AI is great at doing the boring stuff and the admin. It's not great at being a human and, complex thinking and being analytical. It's good at giving you a kind of inference and a response a lot of the time, and it's good to carry out autonomous tasks and check sources of data. But I think that it's definitely not there yet in terms of replacing a human for the stuff that we need to do to build relationships with people, like Andy was saying earlier. So I feel that actually by saving all that admin time, say a lot of charities feel that they're operating currently at 40-50% of their potential for fundraising, for example, we can relay message to staff and volunteers that actually now you can focus more 80-90% of your time on fundraising and generate those income goals and that we've been struggling with, especially with kind of global economic situation over the last few years. It's probably a good opportunity to turn it into a positive message.
Agreed. Another one which has popped up there, learning new tech will be good for my CV. It's not going to harm, is it? So you've got volunteers that are also in the job market, maybe, is always a good one. Which charity and not-for-profit don't want to do this? All of this more time, more focus does help you help more people, which is obviously what we're all here for. So barriers, and again, we'll go for a few barriers now, but if anyone has come across any barriers, which we haven't got here, do feel free to pop them into the chat and we'll try and look at those as well. The skills gap, your staff all need training, and the word there is all. I'm not saying they all need training to the same degree, but you do need them all on the journey. Change fatigue, we touched on it earlier. It's too much, too fast, especially some people who may be retired and haven't had to work with tech much, and they're getting to grips with CRM systems and fundraising management systems and payment gateways. And then all of a sudden we go and drop AI into the mix. It can be daunting. And this isn't just a not-for-profit issue. This is something which I've come across in in the corporate world when technology starts to move fast for organizations that haven't moved fast. Sometimes people just can't handle it. So we don't want them to go anywhere else. We don't want them to stop volunteering. We need to help them. And one way which we touched on earlier was just chunk it. Don't do it all at day one. Involve them, drip feed it, phase it. You'll get much better buy-in. Why do I have to when the leadership isn't? So this is something which, again, the leaders within your organizations do need to be leading by example. They can't just say, right, go and use AI. They need to be showing you. Again, we'll touch on a good leader, what that looks like later.
Probably a good idea for leaders as well, as they're using these AI tools and they're finding use cases for themselves, probably also in their personal life, like many of us, because AI kind of spans both now, to share those positive use cases with the organization and say that it's made my life easier as a leader. So now I can talk to you all more, I can listen to you all more. Why don't you give it a go and see how it can benefit you as well?
Definitely. And this one, new tools feel imposed, not tailored to my needs. So that's, again, goes back to leadership and not involving the right people. If you ask the questions, we're looking at AI, how can it help you do your job? What task could it help expedite for you? I mean, AI is clever. It wants to help. It's relatively easy to tailor it to people's needs. You just need to get them along for the journey. Yeah, changes to volunteering. Do you want to go through a couple of these, Steve? And I'll dip in, as opposed to me talking and people getting bold in my not so dulcet tones.
So looking at there's obviously a lot of challenges that are unique to volunteers, because you are asking them for time that may in many cases be limited. They are probably likely to be more resistant to new technology and new changes in general. And it's similar to how, we would always say involve your people and make them feel heard as individuals. I think you have to do the same with volunteers and kind of see the distinct differences. So time constraints are obviously a big one. And I think being respectful of their time and kind of involving them maybe with bite-sized chunks and see how they go along is a good approach with volunteers, as opposed to staff, where staff you can maybe get a little bit more time out of them. Kind of touching on what Andy was saying, certain demographics of volunteers lack confidence in technology, and something like AI, it's a strange one because it's probably the easiest piece of technology for someone to get started with, but it has the most technical connotations. And I think that it's just, for me, when I start using it, or when I did start using it, and I just immediately saw what the potential was, I felt bought in enough to keep continuing my learning pathway myself. So I think it's just getting volunteers and certain types of volunteers and people over those first hurdles where they can just start seeing that actually it is a helper. Maybe that's in their personal lives. You can kind of try and dig a bit deeper and tie the two that way, so that they can see benefits in their personal lives and then think, oh, well, AI actually might be good for what I do as a volunteer. I think it will also help with keeping volunteers mission aligned, tying back to that point about align your kind of AI strategy and your change journey with your mission. That's especially important for volunteers because they are probably some of the most mission aligned people that will be working for you. The other thing with volunteers is that a lot of them are available inconsistently, and that then ties into your ability to deliver change, how fatigued they're likely to get through things that you're asking them to do or get used to. So it's important for us to be conscious of that. And I think the other big one is kind of lack of ownership or visibility for these things. I think unlike staff who are held accountable by managers, volunteers can have a tendency to fade away or disengage when they don't feel like they're being involved, or they feel like it sits in the bigger picture in some way that they can understand. And so that kind of decision-making piece, everyone knows that there are kind of committees and boards, but just making people feel involved from a decision-making perspective. I think we can do this with AI because the potential is so unexplored that anyone's idea is a viable one and a good one, and one you can take forward.
Yeah, agreed. I think it's a couple there, like keeping them included. Volunteers often feel like they're outside the decision-making process. They're outside looking in. You need to include them in everything, all communications, for training, sort of garner some excitement on this. Otherwise, you do risk losing their engagement completely, which obviously we don't want to do. I suppose lack of ownership and visibility is a massive one, isn't it? So how quickly people can disengage when they feel you're not listening to them, you're not involving them. If they don't if they don't feel like they're fitting into that bigger picture, you're going to struggle. I'm not saying they'll go, but they're not going to be on board with the journey. I mean, volunteers do bring that heart, the time, and the credibility to your mission. You just need to keep them in mind when you're designing any digital transformation, but especially something which has such fast moving sort of connotations and still a bit of, as we touched on earlier, fear around. Just keep them involved. So let's jump on to the next slide on how to engage them, how to keep them involved. Trust, change, fatigue, and culture. When it comes to any digital transformation, it isn't just a support factor to involve staff, it's the foundation. Doesn't matter how good your solution is, AI, Microsoft Dynamics, Biz Apps Power Platform, if they're not on board from day one, you're going to struggle. It will stall. Myself and Steve now are going to sort of break down what that means in practice. You do need to keep an eye on these things. I touched on it earlier. Your staff might become overwhelmed. It's big. It could be quite a lot for somebody who's not necessarily from the technical background. They are overwhelmed with technology changes. They could be overstretched as it is. I mean, it sounds madness. They're overstretched, and technology is going to reduce that stress on them. But the fact that it's a stress in its own way can make them overwhelmed. You need to acknowledge this up front. Avoid, oh, it's just a new tool, it's going to help you. You need to show empathy and create space for learning questions. Have those round tables, open it up to people, maybe department at a time. Brainstorm, just say, how can it help you? What do you know about AI? We do a lot of AI digital readiness, and it's surprising how few people are actually ready for it. So that's something we need to help with. We'll help you. You need to listen to your people as well. Transparency, again, it's a make or break, this one. They do need to know what's coming and how it affects their roles. Be open about that. There are uncertainties. We've covered them. There's huge benefits. You haven't got the answers for day one. You need to tell them that. We haven't. Microsoft haven't. It's moving so quick, but we're all in it together. So your staff need to trust you on that. You need to trust us. We need to trust Microsoft. But together, all working together, we will sort of build that trust and take it forward.
It's important as well, Andy. Sorry, that's kind of transparency on the negatives as well and on the worries of leadership. And I think that leadership and management can have a tendency not to be upfront about their uncertainties because it may come across as, ineffective leadership or not knowing the way forward, despite, you should do because you're the leader. But actually, I think for most people, we all know that there's a lot of uncertainty. And we've learned this through many years of struggling and failing IT projects. So even more so with AI, we're all plugged into the news, or if we're not, we're all on, Reddit or Instagram or whatever, where we're seeing it everywhere. You can't get away from it. And so I think it's important to be upfront about challenges and reservations and uncertainties with people. And actually, I mean, many of us will probably agree. We often find that all of our people, regardless of what roles they're in, the most unexpected person can come with the best suggestion. And touching on what Andy said, ask people what they think and what they think you should be doing. And you probably get quite a lot of good ideas from that, as opposed to something like a big ERP implementation where they're pretty clear cut. AI is very different.
Embed digital first into your culture. Again, this is going across all sort of implementations. It's digital transformation. Adoption shouldn't be a project. It's part of how your organization works and thinks. One way to get this into the culture is celebrate the small wins. Recognize those people who are offering thoughts, trying the new tools. Show digital isn't separate from the missions. Look how the two align. That's going to be key for getting them on board with this. This is a good one, Steve. Knowledge and normalize change fatigue. Do you want to talk a bit about these next couple of points?
Yeah, and I think with this one, it's important to remember that we are all human. And we touched on change fatigue being something you have to avoid. But again, in the interest of being transparent, kind of bring it above board and recognize that people are going to get burnt out with both the endless possibilities of this sort of stuff and also probably everything that they feel they're required to do to advance AI growth and adoption in line with your mission. So just kind of be compass mentis about the fact that people are going to get burnt out and catch it early. It's also like delivering technology into your organization. Catch the challenges early, catch the burnout early. Project teams can get really burnt out and then they disengage and then they stop caring so much and they don't do as much work and the work's not as impactful. So I think just it's funny again, isn't it, that AI has negative connotations as it will replace the people, but actually the people are probably going to be the single biggest impact to the success or failure of AI adoption across all organizations, really. Little things like personal resistances or disengagement through fatigue collectively have massive impacts on the potential of AI in our organizations, I think.
Definitely. Empower staff as co-creators, not end users. This is, again, leadership. They're not just users. They need to be involved in your transformation and your journey. What does that look like? Ask for feedback, anonymous or otherwise. Help them shape the rollout, suggest tools, or maybe get them involved in rolling out new workflows, test early. Again, this goes back to user adoption. When they feel like they've been involved, they're far more likely to be engaged and committed to the bigger task. And again, all of this leads on to lead by example. If the leadership team aren't using these tools, the staff are going to push back. That's just a fact. You need to lead by example, share your learning journey. And that doesn't mean just talk about the wins. There are many wins, but there's also a lot of hiccups, which we will no doubt uncover. The fact that you're being human, leading by example, show them a good, show them a bad, show them a weakness, that will make this change and digital change feel less like a mandate and more like a sort of journey together. All of this leads back to that your staff and your volunteers don't need perfection. They need permission, they need your patience, and they need partnership. That's how we build trust and culture. Technology comes secondary. We've said it numerous times in this webinar. It's the people. The technology is easy. It's getting trust and culture. That's what's key to success for you. And yeah, creating buy-in from the start. So buy-in doesn't happen once. I mean, there isn't a start point on this diagram. It's a cycle, an ongoing process. The earlier we start, the stronger the engagement. This loop does show the keys that build lasting support. So let's start on involving people early. You need to get people involved before the decision is made. It's too late if you go, right, we're doing this, and now we're going to ask people how it affects them. Bring them in at the concept stage. Ask what's working with their current processes, what's not, whose fears, what are their hopes and worries. All of this will help involve them. Just gives them ownership. If you involve people, you'd be surprised how much that can boost your user adoption. Why? What do you think about the why, Steve?
Yeah, I wanted to take this from you, Andy, because I hear so many horror stories about failing projects in general, led by the fact that the why hasn't been established. We have Microsoft already, so let's just get Dynamics in because it fits in with everything. Or that charity's using Razor's Edge, so we should use it too because it works really well for them. But they haven't got an actual objective, mission-based objective behind it. So same with AI. The why is the most important thing. How people figure it out in line with your strategy, that will come. But there's got to be a why, and there have got to be defined outcomes. It can't just be we want to be using AI more. What does that mean? And that probably ties into listening actively and engaging to your staff and your volunteers. People are going to give you the outcomes for this sort of stuff because those outcomes are going to be based on the impacts made to their team and their department. So your outcomes and success metrics are going to be heavily linked to what your people are telling you. And so then co-designing solutions with them, to touch on Andy's point earlier in the next stage in this loop, the two go hand in hand, really. Especially if you've got kind of more naturally technology inclined people, give them that super user responsibility and let them design some of the workflows with you and come up with concepts with you. And then you can pilot and test those together in your groups, in your pairs that you've identified, and then wider across the organization. And we'll touch a bit on this later, but some of these people will be natural detractors. And if you can involve them at all of these stages, you can slowly turn them into evangelists and promoters. And other people in the organization will see past detractors and think, well, why are they enjoying the new tool so much? Maybe I should get involved. And so the feedback loops then happen naturally amongst people, but it's also important to have tools to have, feedback loops defined within these projects and your organizations, because it's actually like we run projects, isn't it, Andy? We always have, regardless of what we're implementing, every 2 weeks after a development sprint, we'll play back to the project team with our client and say that this is what we've got. Are you happy with it? Does it meet your expectations? Okay, actually that bit you want changing, right? Let's do that again for the next 2. So that works really well for us, and we hear a lot of the time when it doesn't happen, people get really disengaged really quickly. And it ties in, I think, to recognizing people's successes. Be thankful for people's contributions publicly. This is a time of flux, and if we're positioning it as a massive growth opportunity rather than something to be scared of, people will feel very proud if they can contribute to that. So recognize those, share them, inspire people to make equally impactful contributions as you go along. And I think all of this collectively will just build that trust as the last point in the cycle before we loop back to involving people early. All of these things will increase that trust. And it's just communication, isn't it? People are going to be scared and have all different opinions, but just talk to them, listen to them.
Yeah, recognize them, listen to them. We've said about active listening, it's 2 ears, 1 mouth. And as a leader, that's what you should be doing. You should be listening, allowing them to contribute. And that's just going to reinforce that it's a team effort, and it's not just a top-down sort of instructional mandate. One thing which is key to this is like follow through, as you see there. If you say you're going to do it, do it. It's all too easy to say something and then not carry. You can do 9 things and fail to do 1, and people go, oh well, that didn't happen. It's failing. It's just human nature, sadly. But if you say you're going to do it, please just like force it through. So building that digital adoption culture, again, it's not tools, is it? We've touched on that. It's people. The tools are great, but they can't do it on their own yet. It thrives when digital becomes part of your culture, where people are encouraged, supported, and inspired to grow with the technology, not forced to just adhere to it. So here's a couple of things which we think really will make that easy for you. Recognize your digital champions. Spotlight those early adopters, the people who are excited by this, maybe the really experimental people in your organization. Make them the role models, put them front and center. Their peer influence is huge, and if they see a couple of people who are on the journey of their own volition, that's going to really help sort of build the adoption culture internally for you. Celebrate the big and the small wins. It's not just all about the big launch, it's the little things. Somebody might have tried something, come up with an idea. That's awesome. Let's recognize it. That keeps that momentum going. Progress matters more than perfection, I think, is the key to this. It's not about the end goal. Sounds really corny. It is about the journey, because this doesn't stop. This is continual. And if you just keep celebrating those small wins, the big wins like take care of themselves. This is an interesting one. I suppose you've already seen this one, Steve. Model behaviour from the top. We've touched on it. I'll let you talk about the next couple, I think, because they're really sort of aligned with some of the conversations I know you've had recently.
That's right. Yeah, I think I'm seeing it ties into the whole lead by example. When I speak to kind of charity heads of and directors, a lot of them don't really know how to do that, especially with a new tool like AI, where everything's kind of up for interpretation. And so I think the useful thing here is putting yourselves in the shoes of your staff and thinking, if I was looking up to my leader and I was trying to use tools in the same way that they do, if I wanted, if I aspire to be someone like that, which a lot of these people are going to, then just think about how you on the receiving end would react to seeing certain behaviors. I think that's quite important, is these things, and it's having that empathetic view of that journey, and kind of tying into the next point about making learning continuous and accessible. A lot of leaders recognize that they need to continue learning and improving their leadership skills, and kind of in their personal lives have a lot of continuous improvement structures. And we've seen it in the way we deliver change, especially in the last few years, where everything's low code and ever evolving. It's not about the big transformation anymore. Leave you with a new system that you use for 10 years, don't touch it till when you replace it. A lot of these systems and tools you will never have to replace again, but then it's about continually evolving with what they're capable of. And so I think there's a lot of structures you can put in place to allow for that. And even just knowledge-based quick reference guide articles. Those are some physical things that are going to make people feel less embarrassed, perhaps, about not being able to use these new tools. And then I think having a personalized learning journey with some of these staff and volunteers, it will make them feel special and engaged and empowered, but it will also actually give them an actionable structured pathway. And something that's really good for that is the Microsoft AI Skills Navigator. Give me a thumbs up if anyone was at the Microsoft AI tour with me when I was in a room with Har Cole, their head of tech for social impact, or she was, and she told us about the AI Skills Navigator. So if anyone knows Microsoft Learn, it's that for your volunteers, basically. So that's a really useful free resource for everyone to have a look at, the Microsoft AI Skills Navigator, and we can send something out afterwards. And then, a safe space is important. It ties into those kind of reservations and fears people are going to naturally have. But I think it's also create a safe space to fail. You will fail. Make sure it's early and make sure you learn from it. Nothing good ever came easy. And I think it's ever more true with something like this. So people shouldn't be afraid of failing as long as we can learn from them and it's contributing to the overall success.
Yeah, definitely. That's a spot on, Steve. A safe space to experiment and fail. Set up the digital drop-in sessions or the round tables where people can actually just spitball, come up with ideas. Maybe try like a sandbox environment. It's fine to fail, just like you said. Do it small, do it early. You don't want to be doing it late because it just gets far too expensive if you've already started pushing stuff live. Another one is align your digital with your values and mission. Obviously, as a non-profits, you've all got great missions. Digital isn't instead of this. It's not a distraction. It's a multiplier. It's a facilitator for your mission. And just remind your team that these tools are there to help you reach further, work smarter, quicker, serve better. It makes the adoption meaningful, not mechanical, but it's a tool, but it is there to facilitate. So yeah, don't be too scared. Don't let it feel like it is a distraction. I suppose that was just some a couple of things on that. Anything else to add to apps before we take on the next slide about training?
Yeah, I think those were the concepts, and I think here we can give you some kind of actions that you can take, because I think often take for granted that we do these projects and training sessions all day, every day, and just some perhaps simple but proven tools and methodologies that work for us would perhaps be quite impactful to share with you. So have a look at those.
Excellent. Okay, so training and enablement. Training is not just about transferring knowledge, it's building confidence. If you want people to adopt AI and digital tools as a whole, the learning needs to be accessible, relevant, rewarding. So what does this look like? Hands-on sessions. Personally, I learn hands-on. I look at how people do things. Textbooks don't work for me. Videos can, but hands-on, that's definitely the way, but I pick things up easiest. I've always believed that real understanding comes from doing, not just seeing. Make space for staff and volunteers to use the tools in a low pressure environment where they're not scared of getting it wrong. As we said, fail early. Perfect example. It can be simulated tasks, guided exercises, sandbox environments. All of that stuff's going to sort of just really drive it forward.
And I think with this one, as a last kind of comment, you said kind of low stress, low tension environment for training. And I think those peer-to-peer sessions work well, kind of pair up people, put people in groups. And we've all got these images of software training in our head, haven't we, of just sitting in a grey room watching a PowerPoint, someone click through a screen. But I think we all learn best when it doesn't feel like work. Yeah, I think there's a lot you can do.
Yeah, those peer-to-peer sort of, we have them internally, lunchtime learning, where people all get on a Teams call, or half the business over lunch, and learn what other people are doing in the business. And it works exactly the same in non-profit. So celebrate those milestones as well. This is a real key. So yeah, that recognition for people who are on board. You're going to be your influencers. They're going to really push your projects forward. If you get them involved early, they will bring people with them.
Just do it for people with different skill sets as well. Everyone's unique, everyone's role is unique, so you can't have the same kind of structured training plan for everyone. And dare I say it, Copilot and ChatGPT can help you with this. Kind of creating tailored training plans. This again, tailoring all of this takes a lot of time. AI can help you with that. It's all the admin heavy work, and you think creatively and let it do the heavy lifting for you and create some of these training plans and these tailored journeys.
Definitely. So leadership's role in AI adoption. Character we see there. We've got James, head of marketing, to thank for this one. So he's used AI to create Alexander the Great. And it's because the quote we were discussing internally was Alexander the Great put it perfectly. An army of sheep led by a lion is better than an army of lions led by a sheep. In other words, true leaders don't just say go, they say follow me. And that's key. As a leader, you need to be setting the tone. So let's quickly look at these. I'll get them all on the screen and then we'll work through them. So yeah, set the tone. The way leadership talks about AI sets that sort of emotional temperature as it is. It needs to be exciting, empowering, aligned with a mission. You can't just say, "Oh God, we've got an AI project we're looking at doing." It needs to be. You need to sell the benefits of it. It can be cost saving. It's going to help people. It's going to help you as a volunteer. It's going to help the people we help, and that's exciting. So yeah, set the tone, lead the charge. Now we don't expect you to be a tech expert. What does it mean if you're not a tech expert and you can't direct this sort of stuff? Show up, use it. Be involved, go to the training, talk openly about your learning curve. What have you failed at? What do you find difficult? Be human, show that you're involved.
I really like what you said about showing up as well, because I think it's true for us, Andy, that we are often the least technically astute people in a room when Formers Pro get together. But it's understanding that there's the right people around us with the right skills, and that's probably the most prevalent for leaders. Understand that the people around you have a lot of good input. In many cases, they'll be better than you at a lot of things or more knowledgeable than you about a lot of things, and just give people that power, which also ties into supporting experimentation. And a few of these next points, like understanding there'll be some false starts, which we touched on, leading with empathy, it all ties to that supporting experimentation. If people feel they can experiment, they'll feel that they're safe to fail, or vice versa. Whereas, failure is a bad thing, and you don't want to experiment. You want to go by the book. So I think there's a lot of things here that tie in together as leadership styles that will allow people to flourish with this stuff. I think if you are visibly curious and committed as a leader, people will follow those behaviors, and removing the barriers to allow them to do that, they will start removing their own barriers, their own reservations. And I think a big thing is that everyone, hopefully, who works for a not-for-profit works for the not-for-profit because they want to do good and they want to deliver the mission and the care, and overloading them with unnecessary noise and tools and whatever can take that passion away. Whereas I think having behaviors yourself that show passion and excitement and motivation can instill that back in maybe some disenfranchised people.
Yeah, spot on. I could talk about this all day, and I've still got quite a few slides to go through, so I'm going to jump forward for this. But yeah, all great points. The internal comm strategy, again, just jumping a few here. Frame BI is enabling, not replacing. We've touched on that. Share those success stories, small and big. Useful updates based on the success stories. Tailor the message to different internal audiences. Again, single version of the truth, but each department and each role will need to see that differently. Comms channels, this is vital. It does need to be two-way. Feedback, questions, concerns, actively encourage them, anonymous or otherwise. Real world examples, lots of visuals, definitely a way that I see not-for-profits. When you put it into a chart and visuals, it's a lot better than a wall of text. And yeah, be transparent. We touched on that earlier. What will change, what won't. Let's jump on to the next one, Steve. I know there's a lot you'd like to talk about there, but I'm going to let you talk about this one because I think there's a lot you can sort of add around your recent experience.
Yeah, that's right. And sorry, everyone, for these pictures. I can thank James, our head of marketing, for that. And if anyone knows what this one is, feel free to put it in the comments, because I don't think we do we, Andy? So
we don't, but James does.
But yeah, I think, look, resistance.
How do you two work at a tech company? I have no idea.
We're busy. We're working. We're not watching sci-fi.
Resistance is something that we're going to have to talk about a lot. You're going to have to talk about a lot, and hitting home some of the points that we kind of brought up earlier, just make sure you're listening actively and acknowledging these fears and this resistance. It's to Andy's point earlier about it being progress, not perfection. Be patient, but don't be patient and be persistent. You don't need to expect all this to happen now. It's not just loads of effort at once. Then yeah, great, we're done. Let's just leave this till we need to do another thing. Little but often is a big thing here, and it breaks down, just chips away at those resistance walls, I think. Tying in that point earlier about change through osmosis, look for your informal influences as well as your detractors. And I think, Andy, you were saying to me the other day, it's good to get these two people in a room with each other, your biggest advocate and your biggest detractor, let them talk it out, let them explore the tech together and overcome each other's objections and stuff like that. And yeah, giving people the roles to empower them to do that will kind of make them feel responsible and accountable. And then it becomes, again, more about the mission rather than a kind of personal goal or personal vendetta in whatever case it may be, depending on the person's view. This isn't about a power struggle. We keep saying it, but this is a collective goal. And really, with this sort of thing, leaders are on the same level as fundraisers, who are on the same level as executive committee members. Like, we're all in the same boat with this stuff. So it's important to act that way, I think.
Yeah, exactly. Right, jumping on to a couple of the sort of pitfalls if you don't engage. Adoption stalls. This is something we see not-for-profit and the corporate world. 75% of software implementations fail down to user adoption, so you've got to get it right. Investment is wasted. This is money given to you as an organization to do good with. Let's not waste it. Some corporates can. We've seen people spend millions on failed software and then just shelve it, but you've not got that luxury. Yeah, if you don't get it right, organizational-wide frustration, that's the start of a downfall. Mission opportunities are missed. Your talent drains away. Recruitment costs can increase. Good people are hard to find. If you've got them and you trust them, don't let them go because of a failed sort of digital transformation. And again, you'll fall behind everyone else. You're all doing good. All these non-profits are out to do well, but you want somebody's pound as much as the next man. And if you're not doing it right, they'll take it from you. So yeah, we need to get that right. Momentum. So these are all the things which you will keep that vision alive. Yeah, again, celebrate progress, not perfection. Rotate those digital champions. Maintain those regular check-ins. Key takeaways: start simple, start quickly. MVP, minimal viable product. You don't need to change the world today. You can chunk it, you can phase it. It doesn't have to cost that much. Not just because there's huge discounts, but you can be clever with the way you do these things. And AI is clever. It's getting cleverer. So it is getting quicker. It's getting simpler. And it doesn't have to cost the earth. Your people are central. We touched on throughout this webinar. You need to keep it that way. Yeah, get organized, get in touch. So we've hopefully given you enough to certainly start some conversations around how you need to organize. But we will follow up with this slide deck and some other tools which I think might be useful, especially some of the Microsoft stuff that Steve alluded to. Do feel free to get in touch. You can find me on LinkedIn. Always open for conversation on there. LinkedIn Dynamics-365. Microsoft are really happy that I got that as my LinkedIn handle and they didn't. But yeah,
didn't know you had that. That's great.
Yeah, it's a good one. But yeah, get in touch. We're sending an email probably tomorrow. Feel free to respond to that. Andrew Martin at formouspro.com if you've got any direct questions for me. Steve Stiles at formouspro.com for any direct questions for Steve. Steve's worked in not-for-profit longer than I have before he even worked selling software. So yeah, a lot of knowledge between us. And I've got to finish with this slide. Go ahead, we don't bite. It's a terrible pun, but James chose it, so blame him. Thank you so much for listening to us. I know a few have dropped off, and apologies we've run over slightly, but yeah, we do look forward to hearing from you in future. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.